Mary with Restless Chipotle, and today we're making something that I grew up on, and I bet you did too, and that is potato salad. Now, there's a lot of ways to make potato salad, but this is how my mom did it. And to me, there's just nothing better in the world during the summer than a big old spoonful of potato salad next to my burger or a hot dog or steak or whatever it is I happen to be having. Mom didn't get fancy with it, just potatoes and dressing and celery and some onions and egg, and that was about it. But this stuff, y'all, is addictive. So let's head over to the kitchen and make it. Okay, y'all, we've got our mayonnaise, celery, eggs, paprika, onion, cider vinegar, plain mustard, potatoes, and this isn't as many as we're going to use. This is just because it makes it easier to take a picture of, and a little evaporated milk in case we need it. We're also going to use salt and pepper, and you may need some sugar. That's going to kind of depend on you. I don't have it here because I don't normally use it, but if the dressing needs it, I'll slip some in. Some people also add sweet relish. I don't, but feel free to add a little bit of that if that's what you like, or dill relish, either one. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I am going to take my eggs and I'm going to put them on to get hard cooked. So everybody wonders, how to boil eggs, and obviously I've put more eggs in here than I'm using in my recipe, but I'm doing that because I'll probably make deviled eggs or something. Just as long as I'm boiling eggs, it's always a good idea to boil a bunch of them. But if you wonder how to boil an egg perfectly, the easiest way to do it is to put your eggs in a pan of water. Make sure the water's cool when you put them in there. Bring that water to a full rolling boil, which is what we're doing now. Hasn't come to the boil yet, but it's just getting started. And then once it hits that full rolling boil, then you turn your heat off, cover, and set your timer for about 12 minutes and just leave the eggs sit in there. During that time, they'll cook all the way through in the hot water. They tend to not crack that way, and they tend to come out of the shells a little better that way if you're using them for deviled eggs or something that you want to be pretty. Meanwhile, while we're waiting for the eggs to finish cooking, I have washed my potatoes and scrubbed them really well. Now I'm using the Yukon Gold potatoes because they have super thin skins, and I hate to peel potatoes, and these don't need to be peeled. If you prefer to peel your potatoes, russets are fine. The thin red-skinned potatoes are fine if you like a little color in there. I am just going to use Yukon Gold, and what I'm going to do is they are raw right now. I'm going to chop them up before I cook them because it's easier to chop them and it makes them cook a little bit faster. So you just want to you just want to chop your potatoes in chunks, good sized chunks, but bite size. You don't want somebody getting half a potato in their mouth, and because remember, like when you're doing a potluck or a cookout or something like that where you're bringing potato salad and all of the things, there's also a lot of talking going on, and you don't want people to have to get caught with a big mouthful of a big old chunk of potato and so they can't say anything. So cut them up about like that. Oops, about that size, so they'll fit on a fork really well. You can cut them a little smaller if you want, but if you cut them too small, they're going to get mushy, and you're going to have mashed potatoes or mashed potato salad. In some places, they do make their potatoes a little bit more mashed for potato salad. I don't care for that. This is just plain old-fashioned my mom's potato salad. It doesn't have a lot of fancy stuff in it, but it sure does have a lot of flavor. And so we're just going to cut the potatoes up. They don't have to be super even. The more even they are in size, the better, because they cook better that way. But you know, don't second guess yourself. Let's make this easy. All right, so we'll get those in a pan and get those started, and then I'll be back with the onion and the celery and how we're going to work that out. All right, some people string the celery by just running the knife like this and pulling the strings up and then pulling them off. That's great. I didn't grow up that way, so the strings and celery don't bother me. I figure that they're supposed to be there for fiber. So I'm just going to cut this, but if you want to take the time to string it, go right ahead. Now I cut the celery in half in the center. And then with the bigger pieces, I'm going to cut it in half again, because we don't want big chunks of celery in there. We just want a little bit of crunch. Okay, so now we're going to cut our onion. You can do one of two things with the onion. You can cut it and chop it finely, or you can cut it and grate it. Either way, you just want that onion flavor in there. And I would use like a, what is it, a Texas 1015 onion or a Vidalia onion, something that's got a little sweetness to it. Nothing too hot or, you know, sharp. Take the onion and celery and put it in a bowl, and then I'll set that aside while we're working on the eggs and the potatoes. So here are our eggs. They're nice and hard boiled. They're in the hot water. I did change pans because I wanted to use the other pan for my potatoes, so I washed that out, and that's where I'm cooking the potatoes. And the pan's hot, so I'm going to keep it on this cutting board. But I like to peel these hot. I think that the peels come off of them better. And I have a bowl here to put the peels in. So let's see how it goes. Just gonna bang them gently on the counter. And I'm gonna use probably 2 hard-boiled eggs chopped up in this. And then I'll slice some hard-boiled egg on top. That's what's traditional. That's the way my mom did it, and that's the way I'm going to do it too. And see, you can see that this peel just comes right off. Now the eggs are not fresh. You want to buy them in the summertime. Buy extra eggs and keep them in the fridge, because you want them to be not out of date, but you don't want them to be like brand new fresh. These are about 2 weeks away from, or a week away from their sell-by date, and so it's working just great. You know, those are perfect. That's what you want for you know, hard-boiled eggs, deviled eggs, whatever, when you want them to be pretty. Meanwhile, those potatoes are starting to come to a boil, and I'm going to turn the heat down and just let them simmer for about 5 minutes, and we'll check them then. All right, we're just going to chop the eggs up. You don't want them in a paste. You want people to know that there's egg in there, so don't chop them up too fine. Don't turn it into mush. Just nice coarsely chopped egg. Now we're going to put this right in with the celery and the onions in the bowl. I'm going to mix that up a little bit and set that aside. Okay, at this point we're going to go ahead and mix up the dressing. So this is half a cup of mayonnaise, and it's a very generous half cup of mayonnaise. My mom used Miracle Whip, and you can use Miracle Whip if you want, that's fine. I don't care for it, so mayonnaise it is. You're going to use a little bit of cider vinegar. This is 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put about 1 tablespoon in, and I'll put the rest of it in if I need it. And then 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard. If you don't use yellow mustard, if you use the brown mustard or the Dijon mustard, that's fine too. The main thing is that you don't want too much mustard in this, and I can usually tell by the color if I've got too much or not. I know I just said half a cup of mayonnaise, but this should be a full cup of mayonnaise. Or a Miracle Whip, whichever you prefer. That looks like a better color. You want it to be yellow, just barely, just a creamy, pretty yellow color. You don't want it to be obviously yellow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit, again, you can always add more. I'm going to add a little bit of evaporated milk. This is also going to tone down some of the sour, and it's going to give it, it's going to make it a little less thick so that when we put the dressing on the salad, it's not like clumpy and stuck to it. Just a nice silky dressing. You're going to want it to like drip off the spoon like that. About like a real thin yogurt maybe. All right, we have our egg and celery and onion right here, and our potatoes are done. So we're gonna get those and start mixing our potato salad up. So the potatoes, let me show you real quick. As you can see, they're not mushy at all. I've drained them and then I rinsed them in cold water to stop the cooking, but they're not mushy, they're not falling apart. They don't look like mashed potatoes, they've kept their shape, and that's what you want. All right, now we're just gonna mix that up. Don't put your potatoes in hot, because if you do, it'll cook the celery and the onion, and it just won't have any crunch to it at all. And once you get that all mixed up, then the only thing left to do is to add your dressing. And this is the point at which you're going to decide if you have enough dressing or not. Now, this is one of those salads that it's going to be a lot better after it's chilled for 4 or 5 hours or overnight in the refrigerator than it is right now. So if you can make a day ahead of time, that would be great. If you don't like the way that black pepper looks on macaroni salads and potato salads, you can use white pepper and you'll still get some of that flavor without getting the specks. I don't mind it. I grew up with it, so it's just, you know, it's just fine to me. But you can do that. All right. Then, once that's done, you want to stir it up really well and cover it and put it in the refrigerator for about 4 hours to chill. All right, y'all, this is chilled. And if you were wondering what the paprika was for, it's for this part right here. We're just gonna sprinkle paprika over the top because that's how Mom did it. Not too much. we're gonna take one of the hard-boiled eggs, which, by the way, I let cool too long, so it was a lot harder to peel than the other ones that I peeled. But we're just gonna slice it. And then the slices just go right over the top. I'll just put that in and pretend it's a pretty slice. You know what? And if you don't have pretty slices, just make it work. Just like that. And put a little bit more paprika over the top of those eggs, just to make it pretty. Now you can put a parsley over the top if you want more color, but there is our old-fashioned mom's potato salad. It's absolutely delicious. Let's head over to the dining room and talk about it. Okay, y'all, and here it is. This is our potato salad. It's all finished and it looks delicious. I'm gonna dig into it right now and see if it's what Mom made. It's chilled for about 6 hours. 4 hours is about the minimum overnight. You can make it up to 2 days ahead if you want to. And it's dusted with some paprika. It's got sliced egg on top. It looks absolutely amazing. There, you got absolutely and amazing in that one. This is what I love about this stuff. It's so simple, but the dressing is perfect. The flavor of the dressing has soaked into the potato a little bit. It's creamy. There's a little crunch from the celery and the onions. It's got the egg in there. This is everything that you want in the summertime. Everything that you want to take to the potluck. But make this salad. It is so good. It's perfect for summer. You're going to want to take it to the potlucks. You're going to want to take it to your barbecues and cookouts and everything else that you're going to do. Just be sure to keep it refrigerated and keep it on ice when you're outside because you don't want it to get warmed up, okay? All right, I don't want any of y'all getting sick. Y'all, love y'all, and I will see you next week. It was good. Oh, and by the way, how many times can you say y'all in one small segment, y'all? Y'all? Y'all.